Sadly, former UFC and Bellator fighter and contestant on The Ultimate Fighter, Guillermo Vasconcelos, has passed away. His uncle confirmed the sad news. Very sad your farewell, Guillermo. So far from us in the US, my dear nephew, godson, extreme father of little Naomi, much loved son of my sister Elizabeth. Our family today mourns his premature departure. We're praying for you. May the God who is able to receive you in his infinite mercy and comfort all who have always loved you. Besides from MMA, Guillermo gained some mainstream attention for being in a relationship with pop star Demi Lovato. Guillermo was just 38 years old. On the final week of the Contender series, Nick Klein wasted no time rushing in for a takedown, going for the neck of Geraldo Souza, and he did not let go until he got the tap just 37 seconds into the fight. He took the fight on just a week's notice, and he earns a UFC contract. Brandon Royval's teammate Luis Garuli took this fight on 7 days' notice and landed damaging strikes in round 1 and 2 on Nick Piccinini. Piccinini probably took round 3, but it wasn't enough. 2 judges gave it to Garuli, so he scores a split decision win, improving to 10-0 and earning himself a UFC contract. Yadi Del Valle took round 1 against Antonio Montero. He landed dozens of big shots in round 2, but Montero's really tough and hung in there. Del Valle landed some big ground and pound in round 3, but Montero still hung in there, but the decision goes to Del Valle in a war of a fight, and he earns a UFC contract. Leslie Hernandez landed more significant strikes in round 1, but Julieta Martinez came back in round 2 with ground control and a couple nice strikes like a flying knee and a head kick, and controlled round 3 with grappling en route to a decision victory, pleasing her cornerman Dominic Cruz. She's 8-0, just turned 20 years old. Dana thinks that's too young, so he wants to sign her, but at the moment he thinks she's too young and too undersized, but plans to sign her after a couple more fights and some development. After a lot of clinch fighting, Jonathan McAuliffe was able to get the fight to the ground against Muhammad Adu. He briefly obtained mount position. Adu reversed position only to get caught into a triangle choke. Eventually, McAuliffe signaled to Herb Dean that he was out, and McAuliffe gets a submission victory 3-0-1 into the contest and earns himself a UFC contract. Recently, Conor McGregor was saying he's going to be fighting Dan Hooker February 1st in Saudi Arabia. Dana White was asked about that potential matchup.
Probably your favorite question. Conor McGregor and Dan Hooker have made a fight all on their own. What do you think of that fight, and is that something you're even interested in?
Yeah, obviously, you know, that would be a great fight. I like that fight. I did not announce a fight.
Have you talked to either of them about it since they announced it?
UFC 310 has added Talashin Teixeira versus Lucas Brzeski. Talashin Teixeira won on the Contender series this season. He's a big guy. He's 6'7" and has an 83-inch reach, very long reach. UFC 310 recently added Randy Brown versus Brian Battle the other day, so now there's 12 fights on the card, and the card may be complete now. Main card's going to be Rakhmonov, Bilal, Asakura, Pantoja, Gon, Volkov, Evloev, Sterling, and Luque Diaz. In the co-main event, Brandon Royval wants to be the backup fighter, but hopefully this fight does go down. The flyweight division is in desperate need of fresh matchups like this one. Dustin Poirier tells Ariel Helwani he wants to fight 2 more times and finish off his career in Louisiana, where it all started and where he is from. The UFC is in talks to bring the UFC to New Orleans, Louisiana in the first quarter of 2025. That would be a pay-per-view, and that would make sense to be Poirier's final fight. And he did fight there in the past in 2015, but at the time, not only was he not the main event, he wasn't even the co-main event. He beat Yancy Medeiros that night via TKO. Yancy Medeiros fought last month in Bellator and lost a decision. He has 1 win in Bellator, 1 loss, and 1 no contest. Originally, it was a victory for him, but he tested positive for a banned substance, so it was overturned to a no contest. With Cowboy saying he's going to return to the UFC and Tony Ferguson saying he's not going to retire and continue fighting for the UFC, some people want to see those two matched up again. That seems like more of a novelty fight for organizations outside of the UFC like BKSC or Gamebred, Bare Knuckle MMA. Nonetheless, the UFC may do it. The first fight ended after the end of the second round when Cowboy's right eye was completely shut. But Dana White's not interested in having Cowboy fight anymore. He puts cold water on that idea. He's willing to pay Cowboy money to do something else for him, but not fighting that UFC octagon.
Cowboy Cerrone said he's coming out of retirement.
I hate it.
He wants 2 more fights.
I hate it.
Is that stuff?
Love him, hate that. He retired. It's just what for what? What's left to prove? You know, if you want to make money, let's figure something else out. And I hate it.
And I wanted to ask about, you know,
when guys retire, they retire for a reason. They don't just retire because they retire because they know it's over. You know it is. So I think that not just this sport, but any professional sport is hard to walk away from. You know, not just the money. That's obviously a very hard part of it. But, you know, the feeling of walking out of that tunnel, the feeling of getting in the cage and, you know, the place is packed and everybody. I mean, look at every time we're at a show, when you show Cowboy Cerrone on the screen, the place goes nuts. I mean, he's beloved. He's beloved because the guy goes to war, and he's been in wars for years, and it's time to not go to war anymore, man. It's just there's nothing left to prove for him.
It's safe to say he won't be fighting in the UFC.
I'd rather work something else out with him, figure out another way. If it's about money, then he can do something else, because he ain't going to fight for the rest of his life, and he's always going to need to make money. So let's figure that out now instead of 3 years from now.
Dana White asked about his disdain for the people who do the rankings. It sounds like he's tired of hearing himself complain about it, and he wants to do something about it imminently, and he hopes this process can be started this week.
If I can ask you, you put out a video that you were pretty adamant on about the rankings and about Khalil Rountree. And obviously, the rankings, I saw tonight, there was somebody from a newspaper called, was it the Cherokee Sun or something, that is on the rankings panel. But your adamance was a little, where do you put Khalil? Obviously, we all greatly respect what he did against Alex, but he got knocked out, and the Volkan ahead of him has won, 2 or 3 in a row, and Nikita Krylov has won 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, how do you move a guy up getting knocked out with, guys like that ahead of him that have won?
If you look at who Pereira has beat, right? And how he's beat him leading up to this fight. He was winning on the scorecards when he got stopped. He was ahead on the scorecards. Stayed in the pocket, put on one of the greatest fights anybody's ever seen, and he stays at number 8. It's just I can't handle incompetence. I can't take it anymore. It's driving me crazy. And I can't let people that I don't believe know what the fuck they're talking about deal with the rankings anymore. I just can't do it. I have to figure out a solution. Tomorrow I have a meeting with a group of people that are coming to me saying they have the solution to this problem. And God, I hope they're right, because I'm going to change it. The media will no longer control the rankings in the UFC. I mean, I just said this a week or 2 ago about Max Holloway and where he sits in the rankings. And I could literally go through the rank. We do it in matchmaking all the time. We sit in matchmaking, me, Sean, Mick, and Hunter, and we go, look at this, look at this. And then Tuesday's ranking comes out, and we go, here we go again. And it's something I need to fix. I need to stop bitching about it, and I need to fix it.
Can you give us a hint on what the system that you're talking about is about?
No, I don't know yet.
Oh, you haven't?
They're pitching me on it tomorrow.
Like when you look at Nikita and Volkan, they both have been winning their fights and beating good people, right? So where would you
Well, how you judge him, he just fought.
Right, well, where would you put Khalil, I guess is the question.
Well, let's do this. The media says he's the number 2 pound-for-pound guy in the world. Pereira. Khalil was winning on the scorecards when he lost the fight. What? What does that fucking tell you? Where should Khalil be? He fought the number 2 pound-for-pound, who was judged number 2 pound-for-pound by the media, and was beating him on the scorecards when the fight finished. And it was an absolute fucking war.
Again, to be fair, he got knocked out, though.
Okay. In a fucking dogfight.
I
so
agree.
Where does that put him? Did any of these other guys that are ranked ahead of him fight the number 2 pound-for-pound guy in the world? No, they did not. Then they can be judged when they fight the number 2 pound-for-pound guy in the world. But to have Khalil stay at number 8 is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I can't take it anymore. It needs to be fixed. AI isn't coming along fast enough. We need other solutions.